All right, hey there, guys. Sean Michael here from OnMSFT, and this is the CES special. As always, I'm here with Sean Ung. How you doing, Sean?
Doing great, fantastic.
Now, Sean, you were actually at CES,
I
and so I'm,
was,
I'm
yeah.
going to rely heavily on you to get that backstage. I want your story. I want you to say I've been using every one of these
Oh
devices,
man.
and
I wish, I wish. There's so much to see at CES. If you were to visit every single booth there and spend, maybe 10 minutes at each one, 24/7, so no lunch breaks, no bathroom breaks, no sleeping, it would take over a month of just like visiting every single booth. So that's there's no possible way. I was there for only one day, so there's definitely no way I could see everything. I even actually tried to target. I'm like, okay, I want to see this display, and I walked around for like 4 hours and I could not find it. It is tough. It is very, very tough.
is there a CES app to make sure that you can navigate everything?
There is, but if you look at it on the App Store, it's got a 1-star rating, and everyone says they wish they could give it 0. It is terribly unuseful.
They need to get some of the people that make the tech at
I
CES.
know. I was like, what is up with it? The biggest tech show of the year, and they have a really bad app.
I don't know. I have to say, after watching this, see, obviously I didn't watch everything, but like reading, like watching the news rather on CES and looking at everything, I think that if there was one conference I could go to, it would be CES.
Yep.
And that's because it is consumer oriented. So this is
Yes.
about things that we're going to use. I love the tech side of it, when we see, oh, look what they're adding to this. But those devices in hand, I think it's just really, really quite impressive.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Yeah, after going to CES for the first time this year, I'm fairly certain that I will be going back every single year after this.
Really, really.
It's
Wow.
overwhelming, but it's so cool. There's just nothing like it. I've never been to anything like it.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I don't think that either of us would lie and pretend that this is somehow an exhaustive list
No,
or
not
anything.
even close.
So, please, if you are watching live, please let us know a device that you want us to talk about in the comments. But yeah, if we miss a device, it's not because we weren't impressed by it. It's not because we didn't love it. It's just, there are some really innovative devices. There's some concepts. There's some things that we're really working towards as a people, a society of tech
Yep.
lovers.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about some of the biggest concepts. Sorry if we miss anything, but I think we got to start off with that Project Ariana. Sean, did you
Yeah.
did you get a chance to see that one, or just see the
No,
coverage on it?
I did not. I saw the coverage on it. I did try to go around, but I didn't see. I didn't see Razer's booth. I'm sure it was huge, but there was just so much there. But I did see the coverage on it. I did watch a few videos on it, and I'm pretty impressed. That's. I don't know how they are able to squeeze that in there.
You would think so. For anyone who hasn't seen it, there is it's a prototype. I would say that no one can get their hands on it, except for the fact that 2 of them have been stolen. So people have indeed gotten their hands on them, but that wasn't the intention of the conference. And so I guess we shouldn't laugh at theft. I hope that they get get them back or whatever. But it's a laptop, super just unbelievably cool concept for a laptop.
Yep.
That if you had, this is the keyboard, this is the screen, you then have a screen that can pop out on each side, which sets you up with a 3-monitor setup, all attached to one just to one laptop. And I think at least the middle one was a touchscreen. I don't know if the side ones were or not, but and so it's this. You got this multi-screen setup,
Yep.
but from a laptop.
Yes.
And,
Yep.
and that's just incredible. I hope that this comes out only because we could see it pushed more. But would you actually want this device? I don't know if that's the type of thing that you're into.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the more screens, the better. So the minimum number of screens for me is 2. Otherwise, I'm extremely unproductive with just one screen. So I'm a
Yeah.
2-screen guy, and recently I've started doing 3 screens, and yeah, once I get used to that, there's no going back to 2. So yeah, for the way I work, for the way I don't know about gaming, but definitely for productivity, 3 screens, 2 screens is a must, and if it's built in, yeah, all the better. No dongles, no
Yeah, no,
wires.
yeah. To go over a bit, this we're just reading some specs that Gizmodo got here, but it's three 4K displays, so 4K on each one, and it's got Intel Kaby Lake processor. It's got an NVIDIA 1080 graphics card, and so this obviously it's just the prototype, but
I'm seeing if I can pull up an image of it here.
I cannot imagine playing around with this thing. That would be so much fun. For me, I at work we use 2 monitor setups for when I do video editing, and among other things, obviously. But the one that it's very beneficial for is, to me, video editing, and just this the whole setup having multiple screens. I don't need to sell people on that. If you haven't tried it, I recommend it. But that in a mobile form factor, it's more when you get that. I think it's more of a mobile desktop than like a laptop.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you than like 4K monitors set up, because I'd be afraid that some bump into them and break one of them off. But yeah, if you go to the library, you go sit down somewhere, you go from your office to your home to another location. I mean, think about that. This is your gaming rig. This is set up, powerful gaming PC with all those things. I think it's great. I think it's it's people say. I've seen people say out of this conference, out of CES 2017, I was researching it. I read Best of CES 2016. No,
Yeah.
seeing tech from last year. No,
Yep.
2017.
Yeah.
But it's that people are saying that the laptop's kind of getting its swagger back a bit. I think people are talking about how much they've been impressed by some of these laptop setups. And I think this is certainly one of the most innovative ones from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no idea how robust it is, or if it's going to easily break off or snap off or anything like that. But
or if we'll ever be able to buy it.
that's true. Yeah, technology like this, when you see it, it's almost like, wow, that is so cool. But deep down inside, you know that the likelihood of you actually getting to buy this will probably never happen.
Well, the likelihood of me buying anything with an NVIDIA 1080 is not very high. But if I was going to splurge, I think I would splurge on that. It's pretty impressive. So
Yes.
I think that's a lot of people said that's probably some of the best coming out of CES. But it's not the only thing that came out of CES. We all saw, let's see, the Dell XPS 13 2-in-1.
Yep, that's right. Kind of the big push towards 2-in-1s and tablets, combining tablets and laptops. I think momentum's still going strong on that one. It's almost expected now, right?
Yeah, I think that I'm on an XPS 12, which was a 2-in-1. I had a Dell 2-in-1 before it was cool.
Okay.
This is a Dell XPS 12, and it's a flippy screen where the laptop, just goes up and down like a laptop, but the
was
screen.
that a Windows 7 one?
I think it rolled out with Windows 8.
Windows 8, okay.
But because it came with all the touch, everything. So this is when they were like, Windows 2-in-1s. Oh, what's this about? Like, how does this work? And so. It's the Dell XPS 13 obviously looks a lot better. It has a lot better specs.
Yep.
Let me go through some of the things here. I'm just catch from Pocket Lint. They got some of the specs lined up here for us. So 7th gen Intel Kaby Lake processor, 3.2 gigahertz Core i5 or 3.6 gigahertz Core i7. You can get either 4, 8, or 16 gigabytes of RAM, and storage goes up to a terabyte. It's a QHD screen. With the i7 processor. They're toting 10 to 15 hour battery claims.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Would that increase the 10 to 15 hours with less? Yeah. So that's with the full HD model, not the higher one. So I mean, it looks nice. It's got the Dell XPS carbon fiber. It's a 2-in-1. It kind of goes all the way around. So that's nice. I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually don't like this laptop very much. I like.
Oh, really?
I like my Dell, but this one just doesn't bite me. Does it bite? Do you like it? Does it bite? Does it catch your eye?
The Dell XPS, I'm not impressed. I mean, if somebody gave one to me, I'd be happy.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be my device of choice to go out and drool over.
For me, it's the HP Spectre line is top.
Okay.
If I got a 2-in-1 today, if I had to buy, which almost happened, my laptop had some horrible screen. It turned out it was okay for now. So it's like, well, you know this, Sean. When you're like a tech guy and you think something's breaking, I think we can all admit there's one of you's like, hope it doesn't break. You can't afford a new one. And then the other shoulder's like, mate, did you see that new HP Spectre? Why don't you just not work that hard to fix this thing?
Yeah. that is the classic internal battle.
Yeah. For you, what's kind of some of the top of the line if you had to get like one of these 2-in-1 laptops, what would you look at first?
Yeah, that's. You mean what was at CES or just in general?
No, just in general, because to me the Dell does not sway me.
So if I was forced to get, so I'm not really a laptop guy. I guess I should start with that. If I was forced to get a laptop, it would probably be the Surface Book. Because I have tried that. I do really like it. There are things about it that I don't like, but I think in general, yeah, about like 3 years ago, I kind of moved past the laptop form factor. And I've tried using, like, I've had work laptops and stuff, but every time I use it, I'm just like, no, this is just not for me anymore. I'm more of a tablet guy with a attachable keyboard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have a hard time because I don't have like a proper desk set up too much here, and so like this when I do the podcast, we kind of set up like a mobile setup.
Yeah.
And so it really helps me to have an attached keyboard because then I can change viewing angles and mount things on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yes, we saw all sorts of different laptops and 2-in-1s. I think it's great to see some of these gaming laptops that are coming out these days because it shows you how much power they can put behind these devices.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there seemed to be at this CES a bigger push towards gaming laptops. What I kept hearing everyone say is that this isn't just for gaming. This is also for high-end productivity. So those two are kind of starting to merge, where people are branding them as a gaming laptop because there's so much expectation now around gaming laptops as far as specs and what it can do. But they're not ultimately hoping they'd be used as gaming laptops. They'd be hoping people understand that they're high-powered machines. So it's kind of interesting to see that happen this year at CES.
Can you see it, Sean? Come tax season, some auditor's going to be looking and he's going to go, an Omen desktop computer? Project Ariana Razer laptop? Oh yeah, those are business expenses. I'm a video journalist. Those are write those off, mate. I got those for work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
VR headsets, whatever.
That's part of it. You gotta target it at business, even though people might not use it for business.
Oh, that's great. Well, in addition to laptops, I think if anyone, we're obviously focusing on the Windows side. CES is worth checking out for everything. Like you said, how many people did you say were there, Sean?
How many what? I'm sorry.
How many people did you say were at CES?
Oh, I think it's close to 200,000.
So those people are seeing more than just VR headsets, but they're seeing the show that big. There's a lot, but for us with Windows Tech, VR. Well, what do you like out of the VR that came out of CES?
So I got to try Intel's Project Alloy, which Alloy, is that right? Which I thought was okay. There's this big push towards inside-out tracking. I was expecting a lot because there's a lot of hype around it. It's this for those of you who don't know, it's the self-contained VR headset. That has inside-out tracking, so you don't have to put stuff in your room, and it's got a Core i7 processor in it, so you don't have to hook it up to a high-powered machine. Everything's kind of self-contained. So that was kind of the big, push. So I did the demo. I stood in line for like 30 minutes, which is, if you only have one day at CES, it's a long time, time to sacrifice. But I was so convinced I needed to try this. I was actually underwhelmed The demo that they showed was, I don't feel like they used all the full i7 power. It was it was lots of polygons, lots of basic graphics. I could see the pixels. It was very smooth, and you could definitely see a virtual representation of the walls in the room. But overall, I think it just kind of shows you the direction that VR and AR is going to. I got to try a few AR glasses, one by ODG, another one by an Indian company. I can't remember the name now. I need to check. Yeah, it's okay. I think HoloLens is still number one. But as far as price point goes, you get what you pay for, I suppose. But yeah, lots and lots of cool VR stuff. Lots of Windows holographic VR headsets announced, but not ones that you could actually try. So I'm really curious. There's been little details dropped here and there about these Windows holographic headsets. I talked a lot about it last time, so it's nice to see them just in person, being able to see the actual devices, even though you can try them on or see them in action. But yeah, just to know that they're coming supposedly second half of 2017. So that could mean anything, likely around holidays. We'll see it. But yeah. So we'll see. We'll hang tight and see what happens.
I think that I think that with these devices, it's great to see people trying different things.
Yeah.
The HoloLens is a rather. I haven't worn one, so is it heavy to wear, or is it? What does it feel like when you wear it? I know they've set up the straps pretty well, but
it does feel clunky and it feels big. The exception is the ODG glasses actually felt somewhat. It's still clunky. It's nothing like regular glasses, but it felt a little more manageable. I could see myself wearing that in public and just kind of walking around on the streets with it and feeling only slightly self-conscious. But
well, that's what I'm talking about. Is so HoloLens is bigger device, but it's a standalone. And then you look at some of these other devices. So, well, one company goes, well, maybe we should do AR and make it smaller. And then you look at VR and you say, well, how about? And someone says, why don't we make a cheaper one? Because VR is too expensive. They might think the Vive and the Oculus are too expensive, so then they make a cheaper one. So that stretches the price point that way for VR. And then you get somebody. Did you see that VR like backpack setup where you could walk around?
Yep. So that's what Project Alloy is trying to get rid of. They're trying to get rid of all this having to connect to a super high-powered computer with a graphics card, right? And that's kind of the holy grail. Everyone's trying to get a self-contained headset. It's basically a miniaturization problem. How do we miniaturize this technology now that we have it? And it's challenging. Yeah, I love it though. I love that VR is now pushing. Before there wasn't really a need to push technology, beyond the limits it was going to, but VR is kind of, revived that need to push the boundaries of graphics cards and specs and everything. And yeah, it'll be cool to see what comes out because of the VR push.
And if you're a fan of Windows, it's you got to be happy that so many of these are running Windows 10 and Windows Holographic, or running Windows Holographic.
Yeah, just seeing the devices that are out there, just seeing the ecosystems. My prediction is that Windows Holographic has already won. It's because of the platform, because of everyone who's making apps right now for the HoloLens. Those are all going to work on Windows holographic devices. So yeah, I think Microsoft learned its lesson with Windows Mobile, and now it's getting ahead of the game, and it's put itself in a really good position. If somebody else emerges on top, I would be very surprised. It'll be some stiff competition.
Well, and it's not just about emerging on top. I mean, if another competitor shows up, that's fine. But you've already seen OEMs embrace Windows Holographic. Yep. And that's the thing. So even if somebody else showed up, you would already have, a Lenovo device. You'd already have these devices with it. So if it became a little bit more like, I'm trying to think. I guess the Android phone marketplace. It's funny because it's kind of like PCs have a variety of OEMs. And then in the phone marketplace, I know Windows has some, but they're such not a player right now. Android has so many different OEMs that it does seem to me that if you want success, you can either be the absolute dominant player in the game. That's the iPhone, which we'll talk a bit about today because of the 10-year anniversary of the iPhone being launched. Or I don't know if it was the announcer that launched, but in any event, it's you can either do that or you make this operating system, which has always been, that's Microsoft's thing. So I think I agree with you. I do think that OEMs have already done it. So someone else would have to play a lot of catch up.
Yep. Yep.
And I think Microsoft's proven it's pretty hard to play catch up sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm excited. I think they're doing a great job. They're definitely doing all the right things, in my book. And I'm excited. I think there's a lot of momentum behind this platform. We're going to see Windows go full on 3D. There's that transition. It's already starting to take place. I think in the next 2 years we'll see a lot of activity. So I'm excited. I feel like this is a good direction that the future is headed in.
We saw a little bit of Cortana in the car. Not quite in the way that I expected, but we saw.
Yeah. It's kind of like, would it be the equivalent of putting I guess there is no Cortana voice device, right? But it'd be like having your Windows phone with Cortana on always just in the car, right? Always listening to you.
Well, it's kind of, this is, the thing with Microsoft is it's kind of like, I can get frustrated with them sometimes because sometimes they have tech, but they don't use it in a way that I really want. I feel that way about like SwiftKey. I think they bought it and they don't actually use it.
Oh, that's my biggest pet peeve. I don't know. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah, well, we could do a whole podcast on me and SwiftKey. I love it to death, and then they don't use it. And I was tweeting them, and I was saying, why don't they do that? And don't worry, this will come back to this. But people say, well, they didn't buy SwiftKey for the keyboard. They bought it for some of the other tech or the machine learning or whatever. And then I'm like, yeah, but they also bought the keyboard.
Yeah.
and so you see that a bit with some of these other devices. So let me just read this from Forbes and they talk about. I'm trying to see. So powered by Azure, these new set of services take Azure ML, Microsoft Cognitive Services, Cortana Intelligence Suite takes advantage of the abundant compute and storage resources exposed in the infrastructure. So they're putting, it's not just like Cortana. It's not like, boop, hey, Cortana. It's connected to these Azure services and Microsoft Cognitive Services and that type of thing. So it's not quite what I thought, but I think from Microsoft's perspective, connecting cars to Azure is a good place to be because Microsoft's so far behind in terms of actually using their services in a car with your hands.
Yeah.
That I think that there is a value in kind of doing some of this kind of back-end kind of thing to power other metrics for cars, because the Android Auto is so far ahead of it. Apple, I don't even know. I'm assuming it's ahead of it, but it's so it's interesting to see these come together. And it says, it's just the brain, what they're calling it, the brain of the connected car. So it's I guess it's fine. It still frustrates me. I just want Cortana in my car.
It's interesting because we're starting to see the car becoming more and more computerized and more techized, if you will. It's and I think with the rise of self-driving cars, which there were a lot of announcements at CES, I think we're going to see a car becoming more and more of a gadget rather than an appliance that it has been.
Yeah. I had to do an interview today for the 10th anniversary iPhone for somebody else, and they he had this great quote, and I was talking about what's the future. If basically we're looking 10 years back, what's 10 years forward? I think this when he said this, he goes, the car is the ultimate mobile app.
Literally.
It's the car is really growing in terms of these connectivity. In terms of connectivity, in terms of all these different devices. So, I think it's very impressive.
Yeah.
But that we're gonna get that, I think, I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see. Where do you think cars are going to be in 10 years in terms of this type of tech, this type of learning and that type of thing?
If you asked me a few years ago, I didn't even think we would be here. When Tesla announced their autopilot and actually released it and people started using it, I was like, this is actually happening. Like, wow. Because we've been hearing Google doing this for years, and it's like, okay, that's going to be something far off. And then out of the blue, Tesla came and did this, and now you're seeing Nissan, now you're seeing all these other companies, saying like, hey, if they can do it, we can too. And so, they're really starting to rush, go for the gold rush. I'd say in 10 years, we're going to have a lot of self-driving cars on the road. In 10 years, yeah, like you said, the iPhone was released 10 years ago. I can't imagine a world before the smartphone. It's so a part of our daily lives right now. I think it's going to be like that with self-driving cars. And, having Cortana, having Alexa, Google, Apple, whatever it is in the car, having the car be alive. So we'd all kind of be like a Knight Rider.
Yeah. For those that are listening live, a build was released, I believe, during the podcast. So we will talk about that in a bit. I'll add it to the docket there, so we won't forget about it. So feel free. We appreciate you guys comment, because you commented. That's why I looked it up. So I really do appreciate you guys turning in live. It has a very long bullet list of features. So we'll get into that in a bit. But just so for the commenters, we will jump on that in a bit. But yeah, no, I think it'll be very interesting. Can we talk about 8K monitors and
yes, and whether or not they're actually needed?
Well, you said you're not a laptop guy. You're a multi-monitor guy.
So I'm a desktop PC / tablet guy, but just not a laptop. Right. So it's kind of like taking out that intermediate.
Yeah. So I'm saying you like monitors.
I do.
Do you want an 8K monitor?
After having my 4K monitors, I think this was before the show started, but I actually got a 43-inch TV, 4K TV that I also use as a monitor. It's got 60 frames a second. It's really nice, but the icons are so small. So even at 4K at that size, things are really, really tiny. The resolution is so high that I just can't. I'm trying to think about what I would actually need an 8K for.
Can you scale it to just fix that problem?
Yeah, so Windows 10 has smart scaling, and so you can change the scale. Even then, though, it's not perfect. I know they're trying super hard with scaling, and that's something that it feels like for the last 5 years, it's always been, hey, we've fixed scaling, So I would say it's not there yet. There still needs to be a little bit more done on that. Especially when dragging windows and stuff from one screen to another. That's terrible. Everything, when I drag something from my 4K down to my Surface has a sharp screen, but everything it's just crazy.
Jumbled mess.
Oh yeah. So based on that, I don't know, 8K. I mean, I'm trying to think. It just seems too sharp, and unless you have a massive 100-inch screen, which nobody's gonna have. I don't know. I just can't see the use for it.
I don't know. Personally, maybe I'm just crazy. I'm fine with 1080.
Yeah.
I
1080 is good still.
It's what?
1080 is good. If you have a regular size screen.
Yeah. On some devices, you need like you've said, on VR headsets, you need really high. That's understandable because it's right on your face, but. Yeah. Maybe it's because I've only been wearing glasses for like a few weeks, and my eyes just couldn't see the difference between. My eyes aren't that bad, but maybe they just couldn't tell. It's just, to me, it's interesting to see that there's this push, and for me, if you and you see manufacturers doing this at CES, you would see these devices and they say you can get a 4K version or an HD version.
Yeah.
And someone say, well, why? It's not just price; it's battery power as well.
Yeah.
I look at my battery analyzer on my phone, and my screen uses more than anything else on that device.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want more. I want less. I want like a level that's like.
Yeah. Well, I think Apple did a good job because they called it the Retina display a long time ago. And that seemed to end the conversation about screen sharpness. They're like, okay, now you can't see the pixels. Now we're good. And then from then on out, talking about screen resolution on the iPhones wasn't really a thing anymore, right?
Yeah, it's. I think Retina is a term though. It's not connected to a specific resolution.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe the Retina display is it's a high enough quality at the normal distance that a device would be used from one's face. I believe. I'm not positive. I don't use Retina display devices, but I think that's how they calculate it.
Yeah.
Which if it's not, they should, because that's the best way. It's like you said, the quality on a VR headset's a lot more important to be higher than it is on other devices. So.
Yep. Yeah.
So
but as far as I'm a huge proponent of getting all those 8K, 4K, whatever into your VR headsets. I think that's where they need to go. As far as a monitor goes, I think 1080p is good enough for if you have like a 19-inch monitor or smaller. Bigger than that, yes, I feel like 4K is a little overkill, but it's good. Yeah, but man, 8K, I don't know. Yeah.
I think it was Dell that had the 8K device.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we'll see. Right. We'll see. Yeah, 10 years from now, we'll be having like 100K stuff and.
I mean, the HoloLens probably. Anyway, we talk about this all day. A different type of display.
Yeah.
The Dell Canvas. Did you get a chance to take a look at this? So this is some people are comparing it to the Surface Studio.
Yes. Yep.
So you get the Dell Canvas. I'm reading some of the specs here from PC Mag, but it's a 27-inch display, and the idea is that you're seeing it more down like a canvas. Oh, see what they're doing.
Yep.
And so it's somewhat to compete with the Surface Studio. I'm not sure I agree with that exact comparison. Maybe I agree with the Surface Studio when it's
not
down.
really the same device.
No, it's not. It's like I feel like this is probably like one reporter said this is like the Surface Studio, and then everyone was like, yeah, that's a good comparison. And I'm like, it doesn't really look like the Surface Studio.
Yep.
But it's more of a down device that you can write on. It's like a canvas. So it's very interesting. It's to be $1,800. It's not its own device.
Mm-hmm.
It connects to an existing PC or monitor.
Yep.
So again, in my opinion, it's not like the Surf Studio pretty much at all. But
I just put a little screen. I mean, I guess so they have got the little dial. I put a little image of it on our screen. There's a little dial, and it it's down. But yeah, they're different devices for sure.
But this is cool because it's a different way to interact with the screen that you already have.
Yep.
This is if you were really rich, you had this great setup, and you go, okay, I got 3 8K monitors. They're powered via with Omen work PC. That was a write-off, and then you have and then you have this, and you say I need to do some work on the ground. Instead of having to have a computer like the Studio that folds down, you bring this into your existing setup that you've already spent money on. Obviously, this would be a lot more money as well, and then it can interact with that. So that is cool. It's kind of the Wacom already does this with different types of devices like stylus, that type of thing. They have Wacom pads, but this down here, it's like bringing another PC screen instead of a monitor to your right, monitor to your left. You also have one on the ground almost. So that's a cool concept. I think it's kind of innovative.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I guess for if you're an artist, if you're somebody who. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I think this one's QHD. If I said 4K, I apologize. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so getting touch on a PC, right? So iPads, Android devices, they are all touch, and it feels so good. Windows tried it with Windows 8 and kind of reeled back with Windows 10 again and made it more of a mouse and keyboard operating system. I think really where a Surface Studio and something like this Dell Canvas would appeal to more than just artists using a pen is if Windows can get desktop touch, if they can get the true touch experience right in a desktop environment. And it's proven to be challenging, and it might not be achievable, I'm not sure. But if they can achieve that, I can see having something down where you're touching stuff. I can see that working out. But until they figure that out, it's going to be tough.
I think one of the areas where Windows 10 shines for touch is when you're using a desktop to do what I would consider almost laptop or tablet-y things. So if you're browsing the web, if you're skipping around sites, that type of thing, it's fine with touch because on 2-in-1s you see that it has, I would consider it a good touch interface. I don't think tablet mode is probably as native as if you just bought like a tablet.
Yeah.
To me, just in my opinion, maybe it's the hardware I'm running it on, but like Surface is good for touch. It's probably not quite as slick in my opinion as like a phone for touch.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're doing the things that you could do on a phone or a tablet, I think it's fine on desktop.
Yeah.
But to do some of the work, I think you need some of these extra devices.
Yeah.
Because if you're working on Premiere Pro, I don't think you can be using your fat fingers to slide things. Or you either need a mouse or, maybe with foot you could use this pen, digital pen, but that's really high quality.
Yeah.
And that's fine. So I think to bridge that gap that you're talking about, it probably needs to be Touch Plus, which is what you're seeing with the Surface Dial, what you're seeing with the Canvas, what you're seeing with really high quality pens. Wacom is, they said that they're really close to pens that work with Wacom and Surface. So yeah, I think I don't know, do you think that's going to bridge the gap, or do you think it's unbridgeable?
Yeah, I don't know. Just seeing how hard Microsoft tried, I think there is a solution, but I think it's something that we haven't really thought about yet. I think using devices like what you're suggesting, the dial and pens to try and bridge that gap, I think that might help. But yeah, I think we just need to think about a different interface. Something that somehow marries high precision with touch, which right now those are two very different things.
Yeah. I was reading today about the. I know this is a Microsoft podcast, but I apologize. I did research a bunch for the iPhone.
10-year anniversary. We should.
It is on my brain, but they were talking about how like back in the day, touch was all pressure sensitive, and capacitive touch didn't come out until 10 years. I mean, it may have been out. I don't want a bunch of comments to say, "Oh, Sean, I can't," but it wasn't mainstream until probably 10 years ago. And it was talking about, man, back in the day, you couldn't do like gestures on touch screens. You couldn't to click things. You had to press it with like a stylus, give pressure on there. And it's just an inelegant solution. And then now the idea that we're saying, oh yeah, I mean, I know there's like a 3 millisecond delay between a pen and me writing, but it's just not quite good enough.
Yeah. My first tablet was a Windows 7 HP device. It was probably about as thick as a Big Mac, and it had you could use touch, but it was not very responsive, and they had a stylus, and the resolution was really bad, and it was just like a terrible experience. And at the time I was so excited to get this laptop which could fold back, and I thought this was the coolest thing. I probably only used it for about 15 minutes. I'm like, nope, I'm just going to use this as a laptop and forget that it even has a touchscreen. So we can definitely, I think we owe a lot to all the technological innovations that's happened. I think when Apple launched their iPhone, that really pushed all the industry to kind of, get their act together.
Windows 7, I can't imagine trying to use touch on Windows 7.
It was a nightmare.
That's almost like when somebody got Windows 95 running on like a Nintendo 3DS.
But this was a real product. This was an HP. It was supposedly top of the line back in those days. But yeah,
back top of the line, yeah, baby.
Oh man, fun times.
Yeah, no, that's really funny. I'm excited by these types of devices. Let's jump into. I'm going to change the order real quick. Did you see Lenovo and how they got games that weren't necessarily built directly for VR to work with VR?
I did not hear about that. No.
So I'm not an expert on this, but I saw that they basically set up where in a virtual reality environment, they set up where moving was as if you were using if you had a dual joystick setup like any modern console.
Yeah.
And then the motion one they replaced them, like they hooked it up where the movement of your headset was like that. I think that's really clever.
Yeah.
I think that's very native.
Yep. I think that's a great idea, and that could be used with anything. That could be used with Nintendo 64s if you wanted to. You can just have some sort of adapter, and Xbox, PlayStation, you name it. Yeah. So you wouldn't get the 3D, you wouldn't get the two different images in each eye, but you would at least get halfway there. A 2D kind of 360 video feel, which I think is great.
I think it's quite exciting there. We had some details on the Snapdragon 835. I think we've gone over those before. I think we're pretty much
Yep.
People already knew what that was
Yeah,
going to be
you
when
know,
it
so
came in.
I did visit Qualcomm, and I talked to like 3 different people. I said, "Where are your demos of Windows 10 running on your Snapdragon 835?" And they're all like, "Oh, we don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, "I know you know what I'm talking about." People were announcing it, they were talking about it, but I guess there were no demos, right, of actual devices, actual Windows 10 devices running on these ARM chips.
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, I was hoping for that, but we didn't
No,
get it. So,
not yet. It'll probably, my guess, I could be wrong. My guess is that sometime in the spring, maybe in March, we'll have the Surface Phone announcement, and that's when everything will be debuted. Hopefully, we'll see.
yeah, it's oh, there you go. Yeah, so I think I'm trying to. I mean, like I said, that's not everything about CES, but is there anything else you want to discuss? There's a build that dropped, and I just missed it. It was earlier today. But before we jump to the build,
Uh-huh.
is there anything else from CES that you
Um,
want to talk about?
I think that pretty much covers it. Just a lot of AR and VR devices, a lot of stuff in its infancy. Makes me appreciate how far ahead the HoloLens is. Got to see a lot of robotics stuff, tons and tons of robotics that are trying to come out. Big push towards uh, push away from hardware, the hardware of robotics, and more towards the software, the interaction. Using, instead of using a physical face, they're using a screen as a face, and that helps a lot. Oh, by the way, interesting, kind of related. I went to Disney World as part of my road
Okay.
trip, and all of as a kid, I remember all these little animatronic, characters and stuff. They've all been replaced with having screen faces. So they still
Really?
have arms and bodies that move, but I'm like, wow, they're so animated. When you look at their face, it's actually a projected cartoon on their face, and it's pretty cool the way they've done it. It tricks the eye, but yeah, they're all moving towards screen faces now instead of actual physical moving faces. So yeah,
Huh.
we're seeing that a lot at CES too, where robots are just getting rid of eyes and nose and mouth and all that, and just it's a screen, and makes it seem actually more realistic.
Well, wow, that's very interesting. I used to work at Build-A-Bear Workshop, and back in the day, it used to be a bathtub that you would, it wasn't really a bath because washing teddy bears by soaking them is a horrible idea, but because they have fluff in them, it's just silly. It's a surface washing anyway. But it used to be you turn on air and then pretend you were fluffing it, and then now it's a touch screen. And like somehow kids still did it, and so I think that you are seeing, yeah, it is a lot going the way of touch screens and all that sort of thing. This is an absolutely massive build, Sean. I don't want to bore people by reading every word of every paragraph. Like when I say, like, I'm scrolling right now, and this is still the thing, not even to I just got to the top. I am going to go through the new features if that's okay.
Go for it. I am out of the loop on this one. This must have just hit, what, today?
It was today. I'm going to message it to you so you can have it on there. I just Skyped it to you. But
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah, but I'll go through some of this. So this is a huge build update in terms of features. It's like I said, very long. I don't want to run the podcast just reading the whole page, but I'm going to go over we're going to read every major bullet point and talk about it briefly. So this is build 15002. We did see a leaked version of this that came out relatively recently, but now this is officially released. So this is from blogs.windows.com. So there's a bunch of Microsoft Edge updates. It looks really great. The first one is a taskbar preview. It has a really nice little GIF in the article from, I'm assuming it's Donna, about that. So basically, you can expand the tab preview for that, and then it actually kind of, to me, it looks a little Mac OS-y. I'm not an expert on Mac OS, but it looks like a very cool feature because you expand the tabs and it gets wide enough where you can see the full page. It's like page preview and you hover over it, except it's in a whole bar that you can scroll across. So that's really cool. You can set tabs aside. That's something that we've heard about before. So let's see, she says, we've added 2 new buttons next to your tabs on Microsoft that help you quickly manage all your tabs without losing your flow.
Nice.
So that's great. They're bringing in jump lists for Microsoft Edge. I know people love jump lists. I don't know why, but they always want them. Let me see here. component UI, it's new architecture. I'm trying to get through. So, I mean, there's more for Edge. Web payments. Microsoft Edge now has preview support for new payment request API, which allows sites to make checkout easier using this payment and shipping preference stored in your Microsoft wallet. It's currently in preview state for developers will not process payment information until future flight. So that is pretty cool. I think that's pretty exciting. Let pause here. What do you think they could do in terms of how much would this help payment on through a browser? I think that could be great if it could integrate with some of the other Windows things that we've seen.
Yeah, I guess I won't believe it until I see it, because I feel like Google promised this so long ago. They had Google Wallet, and then it's like Android Pay, and they had something before that. They kept changing it to try and get it to what Microsoft is describing here, but they weren't able to do it for whatever reason. So I think it's great. I think we need it, and I hope that they figure it out so that everyone can start using it.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great. There's even more. There are literally too many changes for them to list in this blog post. They actually link you to another. They actually link you to another one.
Wow.
So now we're going to move on. Start and shell improvements. So you have tile folders in Start. So this thing that we've had on phones for like ever, they finally brought it to Windows 10 full. That's nice. I don't use folders, but I'm glad that it's an option. I'm always a fan of options. Yep. Are you a folders guy in your on phones and devices?
Oh yeah, I use folders everywhere.
I don't.
You don't?
I just want my screen. I don't want to have to press twice to get into an app.
Yeah, I'm a folders guy. The saddest thing for me was when I upgraded from Windows 8 to Windows 10, and I'd probably spent 20 hours meticulously organizing all my apps on my Windows 8 start screen, and on Windows 10 your apps don't sync even across devices running Windows 10. So I was so sad. So yes, I love having folders, and I wish they would bring back syncing.
Well, on the plus side for you, they have folders on the desktop now in this insider build. Cool. They got the updated Windows Share experience, which if you use an Android phone is going to look very familiar. Because it says, so they redesigned the Windows sharing experience to be more app focused. Basically, there's a pop-up with share flyout. Like I said, if you use an Android phone, this looks very similar because it's a gray rectangle with a bunch of different apps in it. So when you hit the share thing, I'm assuming that it's going to bring this up. And that's great. I use it all the time on my phone. I'm glad that it's on Windows 10. I hope it makes its way to Windows 10 Mobile. We will, that's something I always hope for.
Nice.
Here you go. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just said nice. Go ahead.
So do you have this up? Because improved high DPI support for desktop apps.
You see what I'm saying?
You were just complaining about DPI scaling, and now they have DPI scaling things.
But they always say it's improved, so we'll see. Every build has an improved DPI scaling. It just shows that we're not there yet, but hopefully, maybe this is the golden ticket. We'll see.
You seem very impressed with this build. I am. I'm going to install this right after this. I'm really excited. They got smooth resize for Windows in Windows 10. I mean, it's the future. I just saw Zach and you say, oh, they finally caught up with Mac. But no, so it's basically smooth, more. There you go. So
it's the little things like that that really make an OS great, right? It's the things that, if it was jittery resize, it's not like it really makes a difference in terms of productivity, but it's those little being rough around the edges. People notice that a lot, so it's the small things that matter. So I'm glad to see them focusing.
This is exactly what you were talking about. Well, not exactly. It was really desktop icon placement and scaling improvements. So it says, we've heard from you that sometimes your desktop icons aren't scaled or arranged as expected, particularly docking, undocking your device, working with monitors that have different DPIs or projecting your monitor.
Yes. Yep.
So it worked on that. Says now when you change your multi-monitor configuration, undock your device, project your play, add or remove monitors, or otherwise make changes that will affect the icon scaling, you should see an improvement in how the system adjusts to the layout of your desktop icons.
I'm so excited for this because that is one of my pet peeves. It always rearranges my icons. I don't know why.
Maybe I'm a mess too. Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason.
And I don't know if I'm OCD or what, but I always meticulously rearrange it back. And it's almost like building up a giant tower and having a little baby smash it down, Every time I unplug that monitor, all my icons get rearranged again. I'm like, no! no. Oh man.
Simplified and faster VPN access, improved sign-in dialogue for apps. Lunar calendar support for the taskbar, because that's what there you go, lunar calendar. That's always good. Not as in night mode, but as in like if you actually use a lunar calendar and
Nice.
go by the moon. Yeah, I guess that's what it seems to be.
Wow.
Improving notification experience for desktop for app developers everywhere. So that's more about devs. Windows Ink improvements. There's a whole section for Windows Ink improvements,
which I'm a huge fan of. I love Windows Ink.
There you go. Here we go. In addition, thanks to your feedback, we've added point erase to the Windows Ink workspace, Sketchpad, and Screen Sketch.
Cool.
This means you now have the option of deleting your whole ink stroke or erasing only a piece of it.
Oh,
so that's great.
That's awesome. Awesome.
That's I think you'd really want that. Taskbar logic, so that if you have Windows Ink Workspace icon in the taskbar, it displays the taskbar for every monitor. Clicking it launches the Windows Ink Workspace on that monitor. Oh wow, Sean.
All right, I'm gonna have to install this too.
I gotta tell you how many. It's not. I mean, this works with Ink, but how many times have you're like, okay, multi-monitor, and you go, okay, I click on this over here, and then it opens over there.
Oh man.
And then I feel like if I move it over here, then it opens over there.
That happens to me all the time.
So anything that changes that, I'm all for it.
Yes.
There's a bunch of Cortana improvements, apparently. More Cortana improvements. Easier discovery of Cortana's app-specific commands, so that to help you do things. More recurrence options for reminders. Keyboard shortcuts for Invoke Cortana, so that's great. There's a new out-of-the-box experience powered by, I think Cortana's involved. There's a whole new out-of-box experience, so that's good. You get a new device. So there's some narrator updates. Well, that's fun. Braille support. That's cool. Braille support in Windows.
Wait, what support?
Braille.
Braille. Oh,
I'm assuming
Braille.
It's like the language.
Interesting.
Or the writ, Not too long ago, we mentioned Braille support was coming to Windows. That work is starting to appear in builds. You will find a new button that offers the ability to download support for Braille via settings. While this button is present, the feature doesn't work yet. So there you go. So they're working towards that. That's great.
Cool.
I know this is not very related. I accidentally turned on like the guided mode for a phone for if you were blind. And I had no idea how to turn it off. I had to look it up. I know that's not related, but you have to double tap. This for Androids, I don't know about, but you have to double tap to click any icon, and to scroll you have to use 2 fingers. And I'm over there clicking, and it's going this, that. Oh, wow. So I finally got. But anyway, speaking of narrators over on Windows, the keyboard shortcuts, there's narrator improvements. There's improved legibility for EWP apps and high contrast. I think that's going to be important as things move forward. So, man, there's a lot. Windows Defender improvements. So you need help finding settings. That's there as well. Updated device settings. There's new display settings option.
Nice.
So there you go. There are here we go. Lower blue light. So actually during the podcast, I use Flux. Do you ever use this? It removes blue light, lowers blue light from your devices.
No, I've never tried it.
So it's a big deal on phones and that sort of thing. Blue light keeps you up at night.
Yep.
And so there are filters that you can put on different devices that kind of remove that. But at the moment I use Flux, which I think that's pretty standard for what it is. Some phones support it. But now it says lower blue light. Windows can now automatically lower the amount of blue light emitted from your PC at night, which is pretty much what some third-party things have already done. But now it is, built in. So that's great. I always like built-in, baked-in features. You should really try it. Especially if you read with your phone or your laptop in bed.
Oh yeah.
Or your tablet.
Yep.
This helps that because I almost feel like blue light pierces my eyes now.
Yeah. Well,
turn that off.
Yeah, because there's I think ultraviolet and blue light that doesn't that trigger the wake up sensors in your brain?
I guess, and it just doesn't interesting. It also, I don't know if it helps me sleep or not because I have a terrible sleep schedule, but it doesn't pierce as much late at night. When you go and you turn on your phone late at night, it's blinding.
Yeah,
it just doesn't do that. So I think that's great. Nice. You can get per app surface dial settings. It's great.
Surface dial settings. Oh, this is fun.
That's absolutely wonderful. Per app settings are always great. Windows personalization now supports recent colors, Windows theme management and settings, improved cross-device experience. I'll have to read more on that there because that's a rather long one. Precision touchpad. Like I said, Sean, this is very long.
This is amazing. Wow.
Let me get a few things here. I'm going to start. We're running out of time, so I'm going to start bullet pointing these. Volume control stuff. Polishing touchpad settings page. The blue screen of death changed colors. It's now the green screen of death.
Green? Oh my goodness, that's huge. That's changing from the very beginning.
Yeah, there you go. Quick virtual machine creation in Hyper-V, so that's always there. They've improved the update experience as well. You can place work files on removable drives, open dialog for work files and personal apps, and then power use experiments on select Windows 10 devices.
Ooh.
So there's more. There's input methods things. There's hotkey changes. There's I'm just scrolling through this now to get through it. Honestly, you got to read this. It'll probably take you about 20 minutes.
More than that.
It is absolutely massive. This is one of the biggest updates I've ever seen.
Wow.
For a Windows 10 build, and it's very impressive.
Crazy.
So I think I'm sorry if that was a bit boring, but there was just so much. It just kept going on and on and on.
No, that is awesome. That is awesome, and that's why people are here, right? That's why they're wanting to get the latest, the freshest news on Windows, and it doesn't get more fresh than this. Just released
today. Did we sway you? No, I wouldn't put this on your everyday. I would never put. I put Insider builds on my everyday device, but I don't recommend it.
You know, I'm considering getting, because I run Insider on my Surface, and I do appreciate having a stable build because it does crash on occasion with the Insider side. I am considering getting like a cheap $100 Windows 10 tablet that I can run my Insider builds on. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Or alternatively, just get that Surface Book. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. Options.
Options. Well, I think that's about it for today.
I think so, yeah. I think there was some news on Project Neon, but not much.
Oh, yeah,
just a few screenshots. Looks good. I'm all for it. You know, it has more kind of an acrylic, theme to it, which is nice.
Would you say a HoloLens feel?
Yeah. Actually, I would. Now,
that's what some are saying. They're saying that it's lining up with the HoloLens.
Really? Okay. Yeah, because the HoloLens has got kind of that acrylic, transparent type feel. So yeah, I can see this moving in that direction. So yeah, I'm all for it, and nothing major on that front, but yeah, just a few good screenshots.
There you go. And you got like I said, it's been 10 years since the iPhone. I guess I want to say, it's amazing how far phones have come. The things that we've talked about on this podcast, phones that are potentially going to run full Windows 10, VR devices, HoloLens, all these. It's just absolutely incredible to think that just over 10 years ago, we basically, I know smartphones existed, but they weren't, commercially, super profitable and everything. So it's amazing that it's only been 10 years since that happened, and to see the rise and fall of Windows, Windows 7, and then Windows 10 Mobile, and then it's re-emerging as this new product that's gonna, people are saying, Continuum and all this stuff, and seeing just the marketplace for mobile devices just absolutely explode over the last 10 years. It's been incredible. I mean, what do you think, Sean?
I think you're absolutely right. I think that it's just 10 years, when you just say it, like 10 years, it doesn't feel that long or doesn't seem that long. But when you see where we were and where we are today, yeah, I can't wait for the next 10 years. And if I could make a prediction, like, I guess not 10 years out, because that's a little long, but maybe more recently, I think Windows Mobile is going to die, and it's going to be replaced by just regular old Windows 10. So that's my prediction. We'll see.
I think they'll probably keep, like people have said, they'll keep the mobile, I think, for low-end devices. But I think eventually you'll see high-end devices will run full Windows 10 scaled down to mobile.
So, yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see where it all heads.
It's absolutely incredible. You see this CES and you think, it's just amazing. 10 years ago, like I said, someone pointed it out to me, the first iPhone didn't even have copy and paste.
Yep.
And now we have 3D scanning phones that are presented in conferences, and phones that turn into VR headsets, and phones that can project onto monitors and act kind of like a PC, and maybe someday will be one. It's unbelievable.
Crazy stuff. Lots of stuff to look forward to. Lots of stuff to,
exactly.
to keep our podcast exciting, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, some weeks I think we're going to run out of stuff, and then every week we just don't.
Yep.
All right,
Fun.
guys. Well, thank you so much for talking Microsoft with us and for helping us out in the comments live. If you can't tune in live, make sure to check us out. YouTube, SoundCloud, tell your friends, share it around, all that stuff. As always, I'm one of your co-hosts, Sean Mipey. You can find me on Twitter at Sean_Michael_UK. And I'm always with Sean Ong. And they can find you on Twitter too, right, Sean?
Yep, at Sean_Ong.
And check out his YouTube channel as well. I know you did some things from CES, didn't you?
Yeah, I've got 100 more videos I need to edit and upload, and I just have no time. But I'll try hard.
Fun.
Oh, man. All right. Well, yeah, this was fun, Sean. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Make sure to check out On Microsoft, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
I almost said I love you at the end.
Okay.